Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the battle for Azeroth alpha testing first pass of the Protection Paladin. Now, if you're keeping up with the Paladins right now, I will, of course, reiterate a few things. If you have missed Holy's update and Retribution Paladin's big overhaul, go check those out. They're all archived. The actual discussion video is on YouTube, as well as the entire testing VOD is recorded and also uploaded as well. So if you want to watch the whole sort of minutia build as we figure things out, then you can go check that out as well and put that in the background if you'd like. Or, of course, you can subscribe right here to the YouTube channel and keep up to date with all of the spec testing and alpha and beta stuff that is coming, of course. Or you could check out the Twitch channel linked down below where all of it happens live. But the Protection Paladin is not talent worked yet. However, with the current build of talents, we'll get a baseline of where certain talents play out and how certain talents now have a differentiating amount of power tied to them because of the baseline Protection Paladin reworks. Because we need to get a baseline of where these specs are sitting when we lose our artifact weapons and have no legendaries currently. Hopefully in the second pass, we would look at Azerite gear and legendaries that are coming in Battle for Azeroth, and we'll have to see how those interact with how the specs play out. But right now, Protection Paladin has some pretty strong baseline changes. Now, every single tank has big changes on the horizon. Every single tank has big changes. The biggest one being how their active mitigation works. Let me grab my notes here real quick, blow out my camera. Wow! And we'll look at a few things here. You are seeing the baseline build. I have, of course, a couple talents selected right now, but we'll go over all of those in more detail later on. We didn't really find any bugs or problems with the Protection Paladin. Just a few things that we're putting up for suggestion. But let me see. All tank masteries and or the defensive kits involved in those masteries and things have been changed in Battle for Azeroth, where they're all focused on armor. Almost all of them, which we'll see as we go through all the tanks right here. But Divine Bulwark, which is the passive for the Protection Paladin, is an armor bonus while Shield of the Righteous is active by a huge percentage of your strength. We'll put back on my weapon real quick here so the numbers don't change on you. I had it off just for the sitting here AFK stance when I started the video. So Divine Bulwark has a huge amount of strength improvement. It's 4 times that of the actual mastery stat that is on your sheet here. So you have the additional chance to block melee attacks, which is, of course, reported on your tooltip. I have Holy Shield talented right now. We'll take that off for right now. Oh, rest. This isn't a rest area. Rest areas are not flagged properly on the alpha. Right here is a rest area, though. Where is it? Right there. So you'll see the actual block chance with the mastery involved there is also gives you the attack power bonus of the same amount, but then it gives you 4 times that amount in the armor bonus in the window. And that is just the mastery change. The thing that this couples with now is that scaling with gearing in this change will now continuously make strength and eye level a good benefit, depending on how the armor cap works out. Armor cap, as far as I remember, is 85% to physical mitigation. The big thing with that is that the closer you get to that with passives or trinkets, Dark Moon decks, whatever BFA brings, defensive legendaries, utility-based legendaries that have higher armor values because of eye level, etc., it makes your mastery really good to start out with, but then might not be a thing overall. Due to the fact that on live right now, the way that SOTR works, that it's a flat all damage mitigation, which then leads to these huge swings in Prot Paladin taking no damage during SOTR and a ton outside of it. But now, because it's only armor, which is only going to affect the physical aspect of autos and specials, and of course the blocking component therein, which block, I don't know if this is actually in Legion where it says block is a 35% reduction in the attack. That is all physical, right? So there are different ways you'll have to deal with magic damage. The prop pattern will still have sort of the window of time where they're going to be more vulnerable. But when we go over Shield of the Righteous now, this changes some things also. So this is a huge like paragraph on my page here, where the base recharge is now 20 seconds, up from 16, reduced by haste, of course. The duration has been increased to 5 seconds flat from the weird 4.5 you have on live right now. It still has the 0.5 second off the global cooldown baseline usage. And the armor increase is additive. So your mastery gives you an additive bonus to your Shield of the Righteous window. SOTR is, and you're seeing right now, you're seeing the full benefit because I took Consecrated Hammer, right? We'll just take Blessed Hammer. We'll throw hammers downstairs, but then we'll see that. It's an additive benefit. But again, if you're in the Consecrate window, that is a multiplicative benefit of how that stacks together. But the actual mastery value that gives you more armor in the window is just added on to the 250% base of the SOTR window. And it will stack 4 times. So, or you get 3 times to pandemic the effect to the 3 full stacks. But if you couple it with timing, it'll stack up to the 15 seconds plus like the 0 fall off window to have the full window of time being active, right? So the paper doll damage does not, or the paper doll update in the game right now, this base one you see here, which is complete garbage. We all know. It doesn't show you your attack power stats still. And the damage reduction that you saw on live, the difference is that it's just on your tooltip in the top right corner or a weak aura or something like that. But at least the way that SOTR works now is you're able to see your armor bonus physically change to better math out how that works, because you might think, well, how are you going to show us off right now? You're standing in the middle of the inn. You can now Shield of the Righteous with no target. You could just stand in the middle of nowhere and you can Shield of the Righteous now. So you can actually have this bonus up while you're moving around or coming in to taunt without having it being out of range and problems like that. So you can SOTR without needing a target at all. And it cleaves all targets in front of the Paladin. So we'll show that off more downstairs. But the other big thing you need to talk about with the active mitigation window and all this effects, right? So Divine Bulwark and the Shield of the Righteous. Grand Crusader is the same. Heart of the Crusader is the same. Is Light of the Protector, which is your reactive mitigation, has been changed also substantially. Currently on live, let me read off this terrible tooltip for you. It calls down the light to heal you for 30% of your missing health, and then the heal is increased by 20% while standing in your consecration. Now, Light of the Protector, and more on the turtle build when we go downstairs. I'll show off Hand of the Protector as sort of the first little bit here. Light of the Protector has a baseline amount of healing, which is 200% of your spell power, which attack power is 1-to-1 spell power for strength or agility classes, right? Whatever your attack power is, which also isn't on your spell book here, because you have additional attack power because of your mastery, but it's not just your strength, which is just the frustrating part for tanks. If you're an agility or DPS, agility or strength-based DPS class, whatever your agility is your attack power, barring like Battle Shout or whatever external effects. But for a tank, you see your strength, but there's no attack power stat to see what your actual attack power is unless you use Deja character stats or any other enhancing add-on. I have put that in my notes that it should be a base thing. It's just weird that it's not. Why can't you see your spell power or attack power? Like, honestly, it's just ridiculous. But Light of the Protector has the spell power base coefficient and the up to 200% increased healing based on the Paladin's missing health. And this works with Light of the Protector as well. And then again, the 20% multiplicative bonus on top of that while standing in the Consecration, or of course just taking Consecrated Hammer. But before I go downstairs, I'm going to talent into sort of what is referred to as this turtle build, where it's very, very, very self-defensive here. So we'll have Holy Shield, which just gives you the 15% additional chance to block, and you can block spells, which the spell, I believe, is also a 35% blocked. And, of course, the reflected damage. Crusader's Judgment, which has... These are all unchained. I was reading them just for clarity's sake. Judgment has 2 charges, and Grand Crusader will now grant you a charge of Judgment. Hand of the Protector has the same baseline math. It has 250% of your spell power versus the 200 on the base version of the spell. Same 200% additional scaling, same Consecrate bonus, but the cooldown goes from 20 seconds base to 15 seconds base, reduced by haste, as you see there. Judgment of Light, I'm just taking it just because. And then Righteous Protector has the Shield of the Righteous reduction remaining cooldown synergy with Light of the Protector or Hand of the Protector. Tooltip doesn't update properly for whatever reason, but that could be a small bug fix, of course. And Avenging Wrath, which Avenging Wrath for Prot is still just the flat damage done and healing done amplification. But again, more uptime on that gives you more self-healing with Hand of the Protector's new math. Following me so far? So this is all coupled together. You still have your crit synergy with Judgment. So Judgment crits will give you 4 seconds off your Shield of the Righteous cooldown. And then, of course, the Grand Crusader bonus of when you dodge or parry or use Hammer of the Righteous, you get the cooldown reset on your Avenger's Shield. But that now, with Crusader's Judgment, gives you a charge of Judgment. But overall, without a huge talent rework, just the baseline rework of the Protection Paladin, it does make the rotation. I don't know how to min-max it properly. I haven't played Prot since I played a lot of Ret and Prot back in MOP. But if we go over here to the target dummy, I did this on the testing VOD as well, where this is, I'm 110, right? I'm 110, eye level 190, which is basically equivalent to 910 eye level without tier bonuses from like Argus gearing right now on live. That's actually my skeleton right there. This is a 112 elite, so it's a boss, right? Bosses, like dungeon bosses are +2 and then raid bosses are +3 levels. That's why this is the raid dummy, which is a 123 and you can't even attack it because it's too high level. But this is a dungeon boss dummy right here. And with this turtle build, and I'll show you how ridiculously powerful Hand of the Protector is, eventually I'll have to back out or die to the dummy because it's gained scaling damage. But overall, because of how... Also, there's the stupid graphical glitch right now on the game. Because of how powerful the heal is baseline without needing to be amplified by overall missing health, you have these huge self-heal moments where it's just a ridiculous amount of personal survivability change. And the most reason why I bring this up is because people are wondering about how you deal with spell damage if your active mitigation now is all overall based on armor. But as you can see, the strike that this dummy does to me is a magic attack. It's shadow damage. But if you keep up with this mostly... Yeah. And you're rotating some cooldowns here. You could leave even longer. You can put some spell effects here that are as well. Argent Defender hasn't changed. I'm probably losing uptime on SOTR sometimes still because of my low haste values. Ouch. We'll put a Guardian of Ancient Kings in here, even though it looks like terrible garbage still. Whoa. That's a huge heal the lower your health gets. Timing that window... Yeah, I'm probably got to back out here after this. Yeah. I couldn't get... I wanted that one more heal at low health, but I couldn't get it. The scaling HP damage on Uber Strike starts getting really heavy. But the... We'll run back up real quick and we'll get a slight spoiler because Boom Samdi is the spirit healer when you're in this area on the map. The potential you saw there with timing Hand of the Protector, and of course base stats on this Tauren, on this character is not really great. So you're gonna want haste on your Prot Paladin because it's always the best stat up to a certain point, right? Because of all the haste synergies with global cooldown reduction and with the cooldowns of all your spells. There is going to be a huge huge portion of your stats that are going to be all aimed at your haste stat. But where your next stat falls in, that's why I don't know with the active mitigation change with Mastery. Do you want haste mastery or do you want haste versatility? Because again, magic damage. Do you want the passive mitigation on that magic damage effect? See, not even my consecration is still like the 25% of my health heal because of the new scaling on how that works. And if you didn't already think about that, the possibility of just having Hand of the Protector for a macro for your off tank and just having it actually heal and not do nothing, even base, is incredibly powerful. Just because you could be in your own Consecrate and you can still heal your off tank, or you can heal someone else, and it's not like a totally garbage truck heal like it is on live, because they have to be super low HP, or you have to be super low HP for it to do anything. But that by itself is a huge change. Just the coupling with how Shield of the Righteous works, you can cast it wherever you want now. I'll show you that it cleaves. Every single thing on the Prot Paladin now AoEs except Judgment. So you have your shield, which obviously cleaves. Remember, of course, you don't have your Eye of Tyr, you don't have Truth Guard anymore, so you do not get the big synergies of having the bounce shield give you a shield anymore. The absorb shield is obviously gone. But inside of this, there's your cleave on your Shield of the Righteous there. And of course, there is the Echo cleave on your hammer, and then of course, Judgment does not. But that is everything AoEs now except Judgment baseline on the Protection Paladin, which has kind of been a thing that's slowly been growing over time. I was doing the testing today, and I remember back when I was testing in Warlords, and many of the prop paladins out there may remember this, where you used to have Crusader Strike and Hammer of the Righteous, but that has been changed. You just have Hammer of the Righteous now, which has the either single target or AoE component when you have the talent, or of course the Consecration window. But that window has been fixed, and hopefully doesn't ever go back to that ridiculous nonsense. But the Consecrate window now being back, I don't know if there's some like 9-6-6-9, 9-6-3-6, whatever the builds that, or whatever the rotations that prop paladins have had worked out over the years. The Consecration window now is a huge baseline skill cap, soft skill cap, because on live, it's easier. You have a trait on your weapon right now called Consecration in Flame, which gives you 4 more seconds of Consecration, which means that they overlap. That is gone, of course, so the cooldown and duration of Consecrate are synced based on haste, right? They last for 9 seconds, reduced by haste. So you have to always hit Consecrate to gain that 20% multiplicative bonus on your heal and your Shield of the Righteous, and possibly the damage component of Hammer of the Righteous, because most of the time, prop paladins aren't taking Consecrated Hammer. You're taking Holy Shield if magic damage is a thing, or you're taking a Blessed Hammer for the damage amplification and the damage reduction from auto attacks. Which, this damage reduction on auto attacks now, with the huge armor stacking you can have, I wonder if that might be overkill in some regard, making Holy Shield slightly better overall, whereas Consecrated Hammer obviously still has the potential for very high movement-based fights where you can't stay in your Consecrate all the time, and you can always have the benefit of the multiplicative bonus of the Consecrated window. For, of course, your Shield of the Righteous, because again, you can cast it wherever you are. And you can't always Consecrate and then stand in it and then cast it, but because once you leave your Consecrate, you do lose the armor bonus. That is how it works on live right now, too, with the defensive bonus. You have to be in your Consecrate to gain the extra armor. If you walk out of it, you lose it. Whereas if you had Consecrated Hammer as the talent choice, whenever you hit Shield of the Righteous, you always get the armor passively because it bakes it all in. But that, of course, comes down to if any of the talent changes do work around. But there also were other little tiny things to denote that Blessing of Freedom now has a forced movement effects immunity during the window, which is pushes and pulls. So grips, knockbacks, typhoons, etc. you're immune to. Divine Steed was then increased to a 1-minute cooldown from 45 seconds. That, of course, is still reduced by the Knight Templar talent, and given 2 charges by Cavalier, which you see I have baseline here. But overall, they've cut Paladin mobility slightly, but buffed freedom. which may or may not be a thing for like a PvP situation or maybe some dungeons or raids, but overall it is a bit of a hit. But then, of course, you have even more potential to help heal, utility-wise or whatever. But everything else is still the same. So your Divine Shield is still the same. Cleanse Toxins has a new animation because of the new Holy Light animation that is in the game. You do the Raise Hand swirly bubble. I don't know why there's also an animation glitch that your Tauren gets really wide when you hit Shield of the Righteous there. If you notice the shoulders retract into your body like that, that could just be a graphical glitch currently. But Bop and Sacrifice are the same. Again, Avenging Wrath is just the damage and healing done. Avenger's Shield, without the actual component of giving you the Absorb Shield, is still the Interrupt and Silence, and 2 additional nearby enemies. And of course, First Avenger gives you the more damage on the first target and the chance for it to reset more often. Again, your talents haven't changed, just some of the interactions with them may seem different now because of the loss of your Truth Guard. Ardent Defender is still the same, so it still won't work properly. What? I had Ardent Defender up. Why did I die? Says every prot paladin ever. And other than that, that is basically everything that the Protection Paladin has currently. The talk we had on stream today when we were going over things is that there are the 100 tier for Prot Paladin also seemed like a lot of positive feedback, sort of like the Holy Paladin Beacon tier, whereas Last Defender was really good for Mythic Plus and stuff like that. The big thing about Last Defender now is that its current state, it gives you that flat damage mitigation, which you lost overall for magic, again for spell effects. So Last Defender, even on a single target boss, is 3% less damage taken flatly. That is then on top of your armor mitigation, but then gives you more spell defense, coupled with Holy Shield, if you needed more spell defense, right, to block spells, to take 35% less damage from said spells. But those interactions and how they work will have to be sort of wiggled around and see how this rework happens, because the funniest thing that come up on stream was that Blessing of Spell Warding is still way too good and has very little competition, because you can get by with that. Cavalier and Retribution is a dead talent. You can take it for leveling, I guess, but honestly, what is this? Does anyone know? I have no idea. There was talk that because there are these passives coming back to the game in like the Fortitude, Intellect, Mark of the Wild, etc., and then Battle Shout, and the Rogue Demon Hunter vulnerability window debuffs, that why doesn't each Paladin go back to having one default aura? You know, why doesn't Holy Paladin have Sacrifice baseline? Why doesn't Prot Paladin have Devotion or a baseline? Why doesn't Retribution Paladin have Retribution or a baseline? They wouldn't be incredibly powerful if they were made baseline. They'd have to be changed and rejigged a little bit. But it would give you that Paladin feel back of having your aura always present, versus this toggleable talent version of all of them, which you only have one as Prot, and who took Red Aura? What? It's just not very good. And it competes with movement, and honestly, one of the best powerful utilities cooldowns in the game. So spell warding is just, it has some incredibly amazing shenanigans on bosses. So if anything, they probably should be putting Handed Protector and spell warding on the same tier to compete, because these are both really strong. But again, we'll see how that works out. All these are still the same. Consecrated Ground still has the movement speed reduction on it. Seraphim has the same window of time where it's strong when it's up, and then you're weaker when it's down. And it has the possibility of being good with Crusader's Judgment for having more uptime to get more judgments, to get your shield cooldowns back up so you can always hit Seraphim on cooldown, or of course Bastion of Light. Bastion of Light still has the, you can't, because of the way that the snapshotting works, you can't do 3 Shield of the Righteous and then Bastion and then do it again and then have more duration than 15 seconds. As you see there, it goes to 15 and immediately ticks down, because SOTR cannot stack more than 3 times its duration, which is 5 seconds. That was a change back in Tomb of Sargeras when they nerfed Brewmaster monks and stuff. So that is still in the base game here. I love the effect of when you SOTR now, that you get that cleave spread. It feels really rewarding. But that is still a potential thing that may or may not be changed if they redo some talent reworks. But Bastion is obviously your on-demand, SOTR, Crusader Judgment is your passives, and obviously the interactions with I showed off with Hand and Righteous, and First Avenger is damage. We don't know how Blessed Hammer is going to work because it's only auto attack damage still, and how the new armor scaling works because it's going to be needed talent rework for Prot. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of the toolkit changes to protection, what you think is going to happen with the armor change, and how you'll deal with spell damage as a tank, because all tanks sort of get the same treatment. And because we haven't seen a talent rework yet, if there's any major feedback or thoughts you have towards protection, leave it down below, and I'll check the comments for a while. And before I send my email off to the internal folks, I will include any good suggestions I have in that email as well. But that is Prot Paladin. There's been no other updates besides this. Let me know what you think. Go check out Holy and Retribution or Warlock that has been done at this time. Hunter is up next if you're currently watching these in order. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Subscribe to the YouTube channel right here if you want more alpha and beta coverage in the future. Hopefully I will have Island Plunders, Azerite armor, Warfronts, and some dungeon playthroughs in the future, as well as the first and second pass spec testing. Thank you very much again for watching and listening, and I will see you all in the next Battle for Azeroth Alpha testing video.